There's two things that we talk about when we talk about parent and child classes. The first one is inheritance. Now, inheritance between a parent class and child class works just like the inheritance that we all know and love from the real life, where the parent passes on something to the child class. So the parent gives something to the child. The things that it inherits are the methods and the properties of the parent. So let's say I have a generic vehicle class, and that vehicle has a method called drive, and it has a property called gas that keeps track of how much gas it has. So every time we drive, it uses a little bit of gas. Easy enough. Most vehicles can do that. So I use that as the parent class, and then I create child classes called truck and car. And the truck and car both inherit the ability to drive and gas. The truck also, though, might have a load up method where we put stuff in the truck and a payload method where we keep track of how much stuff the truck is carrying, right? So that is inheritance. These are two separate classes now that both derive drive and gas from their parent class. So they have those abilities and those things already accessible to them from the moment they're created. So we also have the ability to do things to the children that aren't aligned with the parents. And that's called polymorphism. Polymorphism is when we take things about the parent class and we override them. The parent class might be a gray vehicle, generically. We make a child class called blue truck or a truck, and we override the color of it and we make it blue. We have another one that's called taxi cab class that we create from the generic gray car, and of course the taxi has to be yellow. So in terms of a class structure, we have that vehicle and the truck and the taxi, and you can see here that they inherit the gas and they would inherit drive, but you can see we've explicitly changed drive for the truck and the taxi, because if you're in a truck and your truck is full of stuff and it's heavy, it's going to use more gas. So the drive method of the truck has to take into account the payload in terms of how it affects gas. So we have to override that, because on the generic vehicle, it just says every time we drive, it takes some gas. But the truck has to say, every time we drive, we use some gas depending on how much stuff is in the truck. So we're overriding it because this has to be different for the truck. Likewise, if we have a taxi, every time we drive a taxi, if we drive a taxi and we have people in the taxi, then we make money. So that drive method has to be overridden to include an increase in money if you have people in the taxi. So that is called polymorphism. So inheritance is when we get those things from the parent class in the child class. And polymorphism is when we override those things in the child class. So it's sort of like you inherit your blonde hair from your mom, but you don't like blonde hair, so you color your hair blue instead. It's kind of like that. So an example of inheritance and polymorphism. Okay, we're going to look at this, and then we're going to look at it in code. So we have a generic product. Let's say we've got a little stand at the farmer's market. Okay, and we sell products that include flowers and fruit. Well, we have a generic product all of our products have the ability to be sold. We have a string called name, how many of those things we have, and each one has a price. But the other things that we need to know, other than the inherited things that we get for flowers and fruit, maybe flowers we need to know the type of flower, we need to know the color of the flower. For fruit, we might need to know the type. There might be other things that we need to know. But we've got to add those things to those basic um, inherited properties. So how does it look?